Hello, my name is Carl Richter. I am happy to share my take on what it means these days to give people engaging online learning. So my background, I started my career as a kindergarten teacher. I moved to Seoul, Korea, and I lived there for a year teaching English to like 3, 4, 5, 6 year olds, and then moved to Taiwan and worked with a similar population of students. I stopped doing that in 2002 after about 6 years of teaching overseas. I went and learned at San Diego State. I enrolled in their educational technology department, and it was like, it was just perfect. It was a time when technology was really changing. We got all kinds of bandwidth. Just at the tail end of my grad school, people started getting iPads and mobile phones and those things. But really, we've had a dramatic change in the tools and what we can do with them now. I actually moved to Korea thinking that, hey, technology is bad for people and it keeps people from connecting. But living overseas, I found that that's not the case, that we're able to learn from each other and share with one another in so many different ways. So I was so involved in my undergrad or in my graduate program that I actually took extra classes, and then when I basically took all the classes in the department, they said, "Hey, Carl, do you want to teach some of these? Because you've taken them all and you love to talk about this stuff. Like, will you share with folks?" So I'm flattered that Jess has asked me to share what my tips are for being an engaging professor and just an engaging person. And I have a whole series of up on my YouTube channel that I've started that talks about like different ingredients that we can put together in a blended learning recipe. But the bottom line is this: these days you really have to compete for someone's attention. There's so much information, there's so much that's out there. I am a dad, I have 4 kids. They're all super young. I have a 2 year old, I have twin 4 year olds, and I have a first grader who's 7. So mealtime at our house is, what you say, challenging. So basically, I've learned that as a dad, what I'm trying to do is to find food that's like yummy enough that people will want to eat it and nutritious enough that I want them to. There's sort of a sweet spot in the middle there of nutritious and delicious. Actually, as a learning designer, I kind of feel like it's the same thing, that it's so hard to get people to pay attention that you want things to be interesting enough that they will pay attention, that those neurons in their brain will fire and the synapses will connect and people will actually learn new knowledge. So you want it to be interesting enough that they pay attention, yet informative enough, like on topic enough, that it's not just like random things that you're giving them to be interested. You want to help people actually grow. So I really do look at things from those two perspectives. I really do consider myself sort of a learning chef, that I'm trying to put together ideas with ways of being interesting. And for that, you know what? There's this wonderful book. I should have brought it to do like a little prop to show you. It is such a good book. It's called Design for How People Learn, and it's written by Julie Dirksen. It's wonderful. It's the kind of book that is actually interesting, so it's helping you learn by being interesting. It's wonderful in that you can actually flip through and just kind of skim and look at the illustrations and the pictures on every page, and that tells a lot of the story, and it kind of compels you to read. I buy lots of books, and honestly, I don't read them all. Sometimes I start out with best intentions and I get through chapter 1, and then that's kind of it. This book's wonderful, cover to cover, highly recommended. But in it, sort of deeper into it, she introduces the idea of the elephant and the rider. And when I was at San Diego State, some of the classes that I taught had to do with like learner motivation and how to make people pay attention and what to do. And we learned things like John Keller's ARCS model: attention, relevance, confidence, success, or satisfaction. But I really like this rider and the elephant metaphor because it summarizes like our humanity and what it is that we have. So the elephant, it's the elephant and the rider is like conscious, controlled thought. It's like the part of your brain that makes you go to the gym even though you don't want to. The elephant is everything else. So the rider is conscious, controlled thought. The elephant is the part that doesn't want to go to the gym, that wants to go home and watch Game of Thrones or just like get some ice cream instead of going to the gym. The elephant hits the snooze bar. The rider eventually pushes you out of bed. So they have this sort of like look at humanity and how it is that we get interested in things. I think it's sort of funny. We do all this work as teachers. I work in corporate education, so we do a lot of training. Honestly, it's really dull and really boring. And it's like, hey, people, we need to address the elephant in the room. And I'm not saying the elephant in the room is that the training doesn't work, though that's true. What I'm saying is we need to address the elephant in the room. We need to get to the part of us that is interested in things. Tell us stories, surprise us, use random stories about elephants and things to get people engaged and get people interested. You can't only talk to the rider. It's very easy to write out your instructional objectives and to put together lists and goals and everything of what you want to accomplish, but what I love about this metaphor is that there's like a little dude and then there's a huge elephant. The rider is eventually, if I'm going to give you an 8-hour online class, it's going to be really hard for you to pay attention after, if I'm lucky, 45 minutes. So you really need to plan like ways that you're not trying to like trick people. You just need to appeal to what's interesting. Like, find that sweet spot between informative and interesting, that sweet spot between nutritious and delicious, that look for that, find those ways to appeal to the elephant in the room. So that's kind of my take on what it takes to be interesting at a really high level. Going down a little bit, I would say like, hey, you know what? Don't talk and talk and talk to people. Ask them what they know. Give them things that they need to figure out. Consider your pacing. Start off with questions and then reveal the answers through there. There's a lot of little tips and tricks that you can do that don't take any more time. But if you just think about elephants like stories, elephants like to be surprised, elephants like to know what other elephants are doing. Leverage, hey, you know what, these sales reps follow this model and they make twice as much as the other ones. Great, I'm interested in that, rather than saying, you're about to learn an effective sales program. No, that's not as interesting. So if you want to learn more about the elephant in the room and the elephant and the rider metaphor, again, that book, Designed for How People Learn, is really wonderful. And I hope that this is helpful. I really think that it is important to just break your structure down as far as not just considering what the content is, but what is going to be interesting for people. What transformation are you trying to bring them about? Be like upfront about, hey, I'm trying to help you turn from 0 to hero. Or maybe you're not a 0. Maybe you're an 80 and you want to be a 90. I want to help people grow and change, and I'm very honest about like what those goals are and what we're trying to do. So I hope those tips are helpful. I think this is really fun, and again, Jess, thank you for asking me to participate in this. I hope this is a talk that helps everybody and that Jess gets at least an A.